I am Thor, son of Odin, and as long as there is life in my breast, I am running out of things to say.
Great, another broken white boy for us to fix.
That's my secret, Cat.
I'm always angry.
You took everything from me.
I don't even know who you are. With great power comes great responsibility. I can do this all day.
Wakanda forever!
And welcome, Internets, to another episode of Views from the 616, the blackest MCU podcast in the multiverse, powered by For All Nerds, where we discuss everything in the MCU from the perspective of people of color. And it is one of your hosts, Tatiana King, a.k.a. the Book of Ashanti, a.k.a. the Wicked Witch of the West View, coldest winter soldier ever, Doc Aki, Tesseract Thompson, Nakia was right, and sorry to the Inhumans, as well as my very bespectacled co-host.
It's your boy DJ Ben Amin, a.k.a. Karen Civil War, Black Tom Petty, Hank Grimm, the Sad Titan, John Walk It Out, the Power Tokyo, Yippee-Ki-Yay, Mr. Falcon, a pimp named Sam Wilson, Nightmare on Elm Street, Lieutenant Good Trouble, the Lone Swordsman.
All right. And welcome back to Karen Civil War, one of my favorites. But welcome back, everybody, to Views from the 616. We are back to discuss all things Miss Marvel, this time episode 4, titled Seeing Red. And we're going to give you the basic plot.
Mm-hmm.
It's time to see the City of Lights as we take a turn for the red in the latest episode of Miss Marvel. Kamala visits Karachi in order to find out more about her family. But of course, danger abounds in the streets as the stakes rise in Seeing Red. Now, I know you put a little quote about turning red. Have you seen that movie, by the way?
Oh, you know I have. I love it. I love it. And I said from early that Miss Marvel was definitely influenced by Turning Red. And this pretty much, confirms it, that they at least gave it the shout out in the title itself.
Absolutely. All right.
Love that film. If you haven't seen it, it's on Disney Plus. Fantastic movie. Yeah, so good.
So good. Good.
Oh, man.
All right, Ben, let's get right into things. The
themes
of the episode.
But before we do get into the themes of the episode, even though we already did the shout out, we do have to give a shout to Dr. Indigo. Oh, Indigo. It is Indigo. Okay. Shout out to Dr. Indigo on YouTube, who asked why in episode 3, or in our review of episode 3, we did not mention the chef getting real ethnic in the scene. And I personally apologize because I meant to mention it. It was one of my favorite moments in episode 3 when the fight starts up and the song starts playing. First, Kamala comes in and is Kamala comes in and is like, yo, I got to get out of here. And of course, everybody in there being, if you've ever worked in a kitchen, they're like, whatever be, it ain't happening. So they go right back to work until one of them gets knocked out by one of the unseen. And then the chef turns and is like, absolutely not. And everyone strolls out with the chef. So yeah, meant to mention it. Shout out to you, Dr. Indigo, for that. And thank you to everybody on YouTube who follows, subscribes, leaves comments. We love them. Except when you contradict what I say.
We do not subscribe to the foolishness. We see that foolishness coming in the kitchen. What do we do? Dip. So dip.
We out. Be out.
Every time.
Be out.
All right. In the first themes is the actual title of the episode, Seeing Red. So Seeing Red has a lot of connotations in this episode. Ben, you already mentioned the shout out to Turning Red, the coming of age film. And Miss Marvel really is a coming of age show as well, through and through, as you see how Kamala grows up, how she grows up, I don't want to say acquiring, but discovering her powers, discovering her innate powers, and discovering or even having a more deeper understanding of her culture, right? Because she's accepting of her culture. Her culture is intertwined throughout her life, even as a I guess second gen, or is she first gen or second gen child at this point?
Second, I'd say.
Second gen, right?
Yeah, her
right.
parents are first generation.
Right. So to see that the Desi mixed with the Jersey City mixed with the Gen Z, like that's a lot of different things going on. So I just really like, again, just how this story has been written thus far, all the different lessons that we've learned thus far, and of course, like all the growing up that we are seeing her doing in real time.
And I want to add on to that real quick too, because I've seen some commentary on this show where a lot of people keep harping on this idea that it's the lowest rated Disney Plus show, and oh my god, people are watching this and and I'm like, okay, the lowest rated Disney Plus show.
It's not lowest rated. They claim lowest watched
viewership,
not viewership.
Not lowest rated. Correct. Thank you. But even for lowest viewership, that's still leagues above certain shows out here. You know, Disney Plus gets massive viewers. So it's still doing quite well. And the other side of it is, I feel like a lot of people who are not of people of color, not of immigrants, are missing a lot of this show, right? I've seen one person on my Facebook friend was talking about, oh, this show just seems to be an origin story leading up to her getting her comic accurate costume.
That's
and
all you... Wait, you watch Miss Marvel and that's all you get from this? Are you dead ass?
I'm really saying that people really seeing, because a lot of people might not listen to For All Nerds. They might just watch things, or like, I watch a lot of people like Screen Crush, shout out to Ryan Airy. I love dude. But even he, like, it's surface level when it comes to this culture stuff. You know, they're not really getting into a lot of how important and how impactful seeing something like this is on screen for people. Like, even for me, who's not from this culture, but knows enough about it, where I'm seeing it on screen, I'm just rejoicing. Like, seeing Karachi this episode was so fire to me, because like, even certain shows recently, I felt like haven't shown these cities like they are. Like, when I visit other cities around the world and I'm like, wow, it's like people never show you how these are developed cities. It always looks like a village or some shit. And it's like, that's not how it is. Like, Addis Ababa in Ethiopia, y'all, is not massive, it's a pretty small city, but it's a city.
It's
filled
a city.
with skyscrapers.
It's metropolitan.
It's metropolitan.
Yes.
You know what I mean? There might be some goats in the road, but there's also a massive traffic jam.
But what does that tell you? That just shows you the crossover between the cultures, right? And the ages and the times. Like, like you said, it might be goats and cows in the street, but it's, you know, it's like on Park Ave type shit. You know what I'm saying? Like, it's a city, and it's annoying. It's just very annoying to me that you said that's what you get out of it. Like, I understand. No, I don't understand. Let me back up. I don't understand white people. I don't understand, or non-people of color, like, not getting anything out of it, but, oh, this is just an origin story. Like, that's all you're getting from this?
I'm not saying that all of them are saying that, but I have seen this type of commentary, and I've just seen a lot of commentary where it's a lot of surface level reviews. And I always say that about shows like this, about things like Black Panther, about things where where it has to show Lovecraft Country, where it has to shoulder so much more than being just a simple sci-fi or superhero show. Like, these things have to handle so much more with grace and finesse that the average show doesn't. And I think Miss Marvel is not only doing that, but it's telling a pretty brilliant origin story for its character. So
I mean, it's doing all things, and it's doing it intelligently, is doing it in a fun way, is doing it in an exciting, emotional way. And further, I feel, with that same energy you put to find out whether this Stitch is comic accurate, you should put into learning more about what you're watching on screen. Just like, I'm not saying you're going to be For All Nerds and Views from the 616, because you're not. But I'm just saying, like, maybe Google a few things. Like, when they mention the partition, if you don't know what the fuck they're talking about besides what they're saying on screen, perhaps you should read a book, or perhaps you should read some more. Like, to me, it's just like that same energy you put into the Easter eggs and looking at all the surface level stuff. Perhaps you should dig a little deeper. I feel like y'all do it with other characters. Why would you not do it with Miss Marvel?
And I do want to say, once again, shout out to Screen Crush, shout out to Ryan Airy and those of that ilk who do the work.
Right.
Yes, because I've seen them do the work on their reviews, and then I've also seen them do reviews of things like Lovecraft Country and be like, look, I'm not getting all this.
And that's okay. Say
please
that.
Please help me out in the comments.
Say that. That's like we say that. Like, if I don't know about something, I don't talk about it, and I'll ask for help. Hey, I have no idea. I'm not the type that just be talking and talk. Like, if I don't know, I don't know. No, and I'm glad that they say that.
Yes. Yeah, and they do. And, you know, certain ones do. Definitely do. And that's what attracted me to their reviews in the first place.
Excellent. All right. Also on the Seeing Red tip, let's talk about red daggers. We are introduced to...
No, I just realized that I was seeing red right there. You know, I'm like,
yeah. We were introduced to the group or the character and the group of the Red Daggers. Ben, I mean, do you have any comment stuff you wanted to mention about this?
No, I don't. I know that my man's the names are escaping me right now. The young Red Dagger, Kareem, I know he's from the comics, but I didn't get that far in the Miss Marvel series to know that much about him. I did my wiki and all that. I just like the Unseen.
You don't like the change.
No, I don't. I don't know about the change enough.
Okay.
I don't like them in the.
Wait, you don't like Arya Stark's swordsman teacher? I mean, I know he's not, but he just reminds me of him.
Like people are like they changed him from the comics. I'm like, look, I don't like him in the MCU. You know, I don't know. I don't know how they were in the comics. You know?
I ain't like him no ways. Like that's what I mean.
I don't know. You know, like honestly, this was like one of my least favorite parts of this series so far. Has been the unseen. Has been the red daggers. Has been my man showing up and be like, if this don't happen, the world's gonna end. You know, it's like Jesus Christ, bitch! I'm trying to graduate from high school. Like, come on, fam! Like for real, Thanos just came through, dog. You know, does the world have to end every time? You know, I mean, Moon Knight just saved the world. You know, like it's like, come on, fam. All right.
I feel like the world is being saved every 5 minutes under our
Dog,
noses. When you live in Earth 616, the world is being saved every 2 minutes by somebody.
It's just like this theory I have about time travel. Like you would never know it's happening, and that's the funny thing about the MCU. So like most of the time, people don't even know this shit is going down. Like you know, the world could end right now if Kamala doesn't do something right, and it's like everybody just like doo-doo-doo, back in high school. You know. Bruno's sitting back in Jersey like doo-doo-doo. And so,
kind of like how the blip happened, right? Like if you watched Black Widow, right? Like homegirl walked into the bathroom and it was like a bloop. Then she walked out. Her sister walked out. He said, "Wait a minute." You would never freaking know.
The red daggers, you know that whole thing, and just this. I'm like, where the
Are you less mad about the characters themselves, but how they were introduced?
How they were introduced, yeah, much more about how they were introduced and how and what their whole story is. Like, you know, there's another dimension, and here's our, you know, thing in the ground. Like, how often do you use this shit, dog? You have this like thing that floats up out of the ground that can show
3D
her
projector.
I know, but it's like it's specifically so it can show you about the unseen and everything. Like, how many people do you need to tell about?
Maybe
this?
First of all, that's they flat screen.
Okay, so they watching whatever on that.
They watching whatever on it. Just so happened they needed to show this.
All right, okay.
This,
but what about the map?
Blueprint.
The map.
That was just what they were streaming at the time. Okay.
Sometimes no, the map's on the wall, and then they're like, "Yo,
that's just decoration, my guy. That's from Home Goods." The thing in the wall on the floor. That's they streaming unit. Okay. They watching Hulu on that bitch. They watching Disney Plus. You know, they got it all. So relax.
They're caught up on the MCU then.
They ready.
All right. Well, yeah. I just didn't. It was just a lot of like. That's my thing. Okay, and I get it. Not to say that there needs to be Kree in this storyline, right? But this whole another dimension.
The blue arm wasn't enough.
No, I don't care about the. Because now it's like it wasn't a Kree. It was a fake out. I don't know. Who knows? Maybe we'll find out. But this whole idea that there's a light dimension and there's a dark dimension, and
I actually didn't first think Kree. Like Kree was my second
goofy,
thought.
You know, like
wow. Okay, Kree was my second thought. My first thought was actually a Hindu god, because and please y'all in the chat or later on in the comments, just please tell me the name of the Hindu god. But it's like I believe it's the many-armed god that has blue skin.
Shiva.
I'm not 100% sure, so I don't want to say Vishnu or Shiva. I don't know which one, but please correct us. But that's what I thought of, because it wasn't like a humanoid arm, right? It seemed more. Well, for me, it seemed more thin and elongated. Okay. So I thought of the many-armed god or goddess, and I don't know, but I thought it was like a goddess that and the depictions and visual depictions of the god, they have bangles on. So I thought that's what my first thought was, and then they continued. I'm like, okay, well maybe Kree, and then here we are to something else.
Yeah, well, it's just like light dimension, and then I've seen people comparing, you know, because they had the dark dimension in Doctor Strange, so is this the counterpart? And then people are saying, is this the same dimension that's connected to the dimension in Shang-Chi, where they end up at the end of the film? You know, and it's just like...
Right. Well, do you think it's because they feel like everything has to tie back to timelines and
I also
multiverses?
feel like, is that because Shang-Chi, and I mean, I get it, because they're, you know, in the regional connection of Asia, you know, the Asian region, so I get that. But it's just like, at the same time, everything doesn't need to connect. And that my bigger problem is everything doesn't need to be a world-ending threat.
Well, then you're not watching the MCU then, because it's like, that's their MO, right? Like look at Moon Knight. Technically, that didn't really connect unless like the little things they would say here and there. But like that fight had nothing to do with nobody.
Nope.
The giant mecha fight over Cairo like had nothing to do with shit, and that was a technically world-ending situation.
Yep.
So
I mean, pretty much every MCU film is a world-ending situation, or
right, and it's not even a film. So like, how do you explain that shit?
No, WandaVision, world-ending threat.
Yeah.
Winter Soldier?
Or let's say world ending if allowed to continue, right?
Winter Soldier wasn't really world ending. Them dudes was clowns.
Right. But like technically like WandaVision, like that was really just for that one town, right? And if you allowed her to keep going, maybe
it was
she
to
would
be
have
world
expanded
ending
that
pretty
shit.
quick. Yeah.
Yeah.
It would have been pretty bad.
But like but no, actually Winter Soldier technically was because of Flag Smashers. They were
clowns.
They were clowns, but they were supposed to be a global threat. We know that.
Yeah, but they wasn't. They got blown up in one van. Right?
Oh my God. Okay.
Threat over.
All right. Let's continue on the Seeing Red theme. Red could also refer to blood. We actually lack thereof in the MCU when it just comes to people getting stabbed in the heart, in the back. You actually don't see any blood most times. Blood also refers to blood ties and family, things of that nature. We mentioned Turning Red, again, coming of age film. Anything else you want to mention on concerns of blood, Ben?
No, but you did mention the blood daggers and all the weaponry they've been using in this battles and fights are like either related to the region or, historically accurate. So I've liked that. Like the dude had a little dagger that's made out of, I want to say it's antler horns, and it's featured in a martial art that's native to the region.
Oh, okay. Cool.
Yep.
And then finally,
I don't know the names. Sorry.
In Seeing Red, that's also a euphemism when someone sees red, that they have a lot of anger. It could also refer to the pain that you have. And we've seen that. I have mentioned in the last episode that generational anger and pain that's happening between the mothers, Muniba, Kamala's mother, Sanaa, Muniba's mother, right? And then obviously it rolls back up to Aisha, the great grandmother. So, and we see here Sana, she was never crazy. She just had the ability to see and understand things that Muniba couldn't. And even though she shared those theories with her daughter felt like she even said to her, I didn't need all your theories and you tell me these stories. I just wanted you to be my mom, which means that at least to Muniba, like Sana wasn't there for her in a motherly way, at least the way she wanted her to be. Then, go ahead.
No, that was one of my favorite parts of this episode was all the relationships between the mothers and daughters being explored and all the pain and all the anger, but also still the love between them all. Like when they come out of the airport and, you see how much love, Kamala, I'm going to butcher it every time. Kamala. You see how much love Kamala gets at the airport while her mom is Muniba, right? Mm-hmm. Yeah, Muniba doesn't get as much love, gets criticized. Your skin's too dry. What you've been eating, all this type of stuff immediately. Like, and then later on in the episode, you see them reconnecting, talking out their differences a little bit. Both of them, and even on the plane before that, Kamala and her mom are having this issue. So,
yeah. And the resentment, when I mentioned the pain, the resentment is part of pain. That's still there very much so. You see, Sana, she kept boxes of toffees in her house for years. I mean, boxes upon boxes upon boxes. And in the hopes that her daughter would return after, in Sana's head, she just fled her because she wanted to get away from her mother. We found out later from Muniba that that's not the case. She didn't want to get away from her. She wanted to get away from the situation she was in. Like her mom was seen by the neighbors and everybody else as crazy. And then because of that, Muniba was looked at funny style. And you see that later on, Muniba actually is eating those candies, and she shares with her own daughter as she comes to terms through her own emotions, her own anger and pain and resentment. Yeah, it's very deep stuff. So I'm like, how could you not? Is that all you just see that this is a lead up? That's all you see about this series? It's really wild to me, but okay. Let's go into the next theme.
Seeing red.
It makes me crazy. Okay. The next theme is borders. Borders and fences and partitions, right? Like partitions, just again, the recurring theme besides the literal explanation of the partition. But We learned from the the streaming network that comes up from the ground that there is a veil of Noor that separates the clandestine's dimension from Earth. And Noor that they reveal, that wasn't a lie, Ben. They said Noor really is still just light or their energy source. I remember we were talking about how, well, Aisha did make some lies up, but she didn't lie about Noor being the energy. So, but she was fucking lying though about a lot of things. You call that?
Yeah, I told you that one.
But there is there's basically a border of energy that separates this section from Earth. And Waleed, the head Red Dagger, he says, if the clandestines use the bangle to tear down the veil, then the clandestine dimension will overtake Earth. And then again, this is just another, I mean, it's typical Marvel, but it's just another physical conflict on top of emotional conflict, right? It's just like, and also the end of all things type of Deus Ex Machina, right? Like, if we don't stop them, everything's going to shit. Like, I'm like, all
Not
right.
everything. I mean, everything ends. Not even everything's doing the shit. The world is over. Wiped out completely.
Yeah. And Noor being that energy source of that realm, Kamala, she's Earthborn, but she has that Noor blood. I don't know what to even call it at this point, but she's of North descending, so her powers are made of that Noor energy, or that's what Wally says.
Just that face you're making when you're like, maybe they were right about changing her powers from the comics.
Ooh, okay. We're moving on.
I don't mean like that. Like, I like the representation. I don't like the story right now. Like,
you just don't like that
light
backstory.
dimension and Noor. And...
I mean, to me, they're just trying to continue the pattern of, Nightlight, the light.
Noor girl.
And we're going to talk about Karachi later, but Karachi, City of Lights. Like, it's a lot of things about light. And the light versus the darkness and all.
I know.
Darkness is spreading, shit like that.
Still better than Thor.
Oh, right. The border, when we talk about borders, the partition, when we talk about the literal partition, the event that physically separated people, which led to the forming of the greater forming of India and Pakistan. But the people themselves are of similar background. Essentially the same people, but with differences like religion, food, culture, things like that. It reminds me of places like Dominican Republic and Haiti, where, go ahead.
Ethiopia and
Ethiopia.
Eritrea.
I mean, it's a lot of places all over the world that are similar like that.
What do they all have in common, Tatiana?
White supremacy.
Toxic whiteness, because it's not supreme at all.
Toxic whiteness.
Mm-hmm. Say it loud. Not proud, but, say it loud.
Said it loud for the class. But
yeah,
it's a recurring theme that happens globally.
Yeah, and like that's the thing, because the religion is not a difference, because they got along fine. And
it's not a difference. It's
when somebody else points out, hey, you guys are different over there.
Well, when I say different,
you're two different religions.
Well, listen, different
Shouldn't you kill each other.
Different as a word on his face isn't a negative connotation, right?
Yeah.
Like, there are different religions.
Yep.
That's fine. But it's not to say that you are different in a negative way, right? Like, it's just like an apple is not an orange. They're different. There's nothing inherently bad about that. They're just different. And that's
both
what I mean.
tasty. But
They're both tasty. Yes.
It's up until one point it says, oh, you like apples? Then you must hate oranges.
Right. It's like, whoa. Where'd you come up with this one?
Go murder all the oranges.
All right.
Yeah.
And you just mentioned, I said white supremacy, but let's do it. White toxicity.
Yes.
The white toxic foreign border between people due to British colonization that led to a lot of strife between Muslim and Hindu communities. And again, we talked about how that partition refers to that time when once the British left India, that destruction that happened and how we see, at least in this series, how families were separated, mad people died. It was just absolute chaos.
Absolutely horrific. And I once again, like we said earlier, as much research as you do reading comics, you should also do the research on things like the partition, because me personally, I understood that India and Pakistan had differences. I didn't really understand why, even though I know a lot of Indian and Pakistan people, I didn't exactly talk to them about why y'all got such beef. So when I had to go do the research for the show and read about the partition, I'm like, this is one of the most disgusting and horrible events in human history. And as usual, it's called, not as usual, but I'd say in about 75 to 90% of the cases in human history, it's caused by colonization and the effects of toxic whiteness, and it's spread throughout the globe. And that's the thing. It's like, but I mean, sure, in another version of history, maybe, people would still be people and kill each other. But in the world we live in, toxic whiteness is the cause of a lot of this problem. So,
Yeesh.
And that's one thing I really love that at the end of this episode, Kamala seemed to time travel back into partition. I thought that took a lot of heart.
That took a lot of guts for Bisha and the team to do that.
And because, like, as I said, once you start doing the research on this stuff, those trains we see leaving, in a large majority of the cases, you see how many people was on that. Those trains would arrive with nothing but corpses on them.
Literally on it. Not just inside. On top. On the side. On the train.
And they would be murdered on the way, trying to escape what was happening, where more people were being murdered back home. I doubt we'll get to see all of this violence in this MCU show, and I don't really need to. But I do want people to understand the conditions that were happening right then and why it's so important. And like I said before, why it is such... Shows like this operate on a different level. It takes a lot more for a writing team to deliver something to this, to tell you all this story and also give you this history with the finesse, like I said before. So props. Salute.
Definitely. The next theme we have is home, heritage, and history, the Triple H.
Mm-hmm.
Kamala returns to her roots in Karachi, Pakistan, with her mother, Muniba. We see her meeting up with her cousins, obviously her grandmother, the world around her, the people around her. She meets up with and learns who Kareem is and hangs out with the teens on that side. And you see her, as I mentioned, she just reconnecting more with her roots and even doing some learning herself, right? You see her eating more traditional foods. She's surrounded by culture immediately. Like as soon as she steps out, the cricket team out there getting their props from winning, getting the championship. You see all the flashing lights. Like you see a whole bunch of things going on. And like you see her like just not being overwhelmed, but just taking it all in. Cause like she seems to be very like happy and just like really wowed by everything.
Mm-hmm. And it's really beautiful. Like I said before, I just thought that was really so dope. I've never been to Karachi. I've never been to India, Pakistan, anywhere around there. But I just love seeing these cities around the world portrayed how they are, where they're real cities. Like you see her coming from a major airport and then driving away from the airport. And it's funny because wherever you are in any city in the world, the airport exit is always the same. It's always like this triangle and a little circle you got to get through everywhere in the world. It's just like that. And then you see the city. And then they take her to different regions. We get to see the train station. Just all these different things where it's like, this is a real living, breathing city full of people. And I just thought that was beautiful.
Right, definitely. For young Pakistani American people that take that journey, that I'm sure her travels a familiar one, especially when that was your first time. And y'all probably find relatability in how Kamala reacts to going to Pakistan for the first time. And even the guy, when she's on the plane, the guy next to her is like, this is your first time. Like he could tell that because her nose is open. She's all like, yeah, like she's trying to be cool, but you could tell like, she's like, yo, I'm really excited. This is some new stuff for me.
Mm-hmm. And she's also shook because she's gripping her armrest through the whole flight.
She's also very shook. So we'll see. Muniba, she explained to her mother, we said that already, just about how she didn't leave home to get away from her mother. And in fact, that even more so because she offers to her mother for her to stay with her because she sees her mother's getting older. And she's like, yo, you sure you want to just continue doing this by yourself? She was just trying to get away from being ostracized by the neighbors and, her crazy mother and her theories.
Yeah.
Yeah. Kamala's cousins take her on a tour of Old Town on a heritage walk of sorts. The Old Town was the original area of Karachi, which is home to more of the indigenous population. It's also home to where many of the refugees from the partition first settled upon fleeing India. And just once again, when it comes to the topics that Bisha and team are going into and having the courage to really talk through the truth, right? Like, I think that's a lot to it.
Mm-hmm. No, and like I said, it's just so much more that they have to deal with, and like, even Falcon and the Winter Soldier had so much more to deal with than, as great as a show like WandaVision, as great as a show like Loki is, those are two of our favorite shows. They don't have to deal with as much of these issues. They have other issues that they were definitely exploring, like Loki was exploring sexuality, gender issues, what it means to be self, a lot of things. But it's taking place with Asgardians. It's not taking place where it's like, oh no, this is real people and this is the real history and this is what really happened. And by doing that, you're going to ostracize some people who don't want to, be confronted by their own history. I remember from seeing the first episode, I was like, ooh, I wonder how people, the white boys in Britain are going to be like, hold that one, y'all. Yeah.
Okay, so this is one thing about culture, and again, this is also just proximity when we're talking about the actual land masses and countries and stuff like that. But I thought it was interesting that the Chinese food store is used as a hideout, and this has happened already at least one other time in the MCU, the TV MCU. But India and China in general just had a very long history of commerce, interactions, cultural exchange. I mean, you see it in Indo-Chinese food. It's also reflected in Pakistan. And as I mentioned, like using other cases in the MCU, like here, the ABC Chinese restaurant is the name of the Red Dagger hideout, right? But then in Luke Cage, he lives above a Chinese restaurant, right? And like Connie, like tried to keep him on the low, right? Like she helps, and in a way that's kind of his hideout too, right? And I'm just like, how many times does this get repeated in the MCU?
It's not just the MCU. It's so funny because I've just been watching The Old Man on FX, and I watched one episode, and I went to a friend. I was like, "Yo, what's up, yo?" And I know if I go to there's a site that does TV tropes where eating Chinese food is just a shorthand for thinking. That is like generalized. Okay. It is because you can think of so many movies you see. Whenever they get to that stress part, they're like, "Oh." They get their little Chinese food. They got the boxes. They're walking. They're talking. They're nibbling on some stuff.
Oh, right. They are dissecting something.
Yep, and they're figuring out their next move. It is the constant. So it's just a shorthand for thinking. And I don't know why. That's what, when I saw The Old Man, I was like, okay, why? So I'm going to have to go on TV tropes and find out because I know it's on there.
Yeah. ABC, it's elementary, things like that. Okay, that makes sense. Yeah.
It even goes back to like, in The Lost Boys when they're eating the food and then he makes them think that he's eating maggots. But it's like there's always Chinese food in movies and television shows. That is just...
Do you know where that comes from? Why that's considered...
No, that's why I'm wondering. And I think one thing is it looks cool. And it's like, as you're eating it, it's something you can walk and talk with and eat. So for filming, that looks good, Does
that come from a good place or does that come from a fetishization place or Orientalism? We don't know, but we know it's a trope. Okay.
I wasn't ready to. Yeah, I mean,
we don't know. So
my immediate answer would be like yes, but
we're not saying it's a good thing necessarily. We're just saying this is what it is.
Yeah, no, I'm not. I'm saying it probably comes from a bad place, but like most things do.
The bad place. All right.
Yeah. This is not the good place, folks.
And the last theme of this episode is lights. Karachi, one of its nicknames being known as the City of Lights, picked it up in the 60s and 70s for its vibrant nightlife. Yes, All of the Lights by Kanye, that guy. Karachi has generally been a large city. It had it moved around from the different majorities, whether it went from Hindu. What else? Kamala, she arrives in the middle of the night, so she's surrounded by lights everywhere. All the lights of the city, people around, all the flashing lights of the camera. We saw her also be in showers with flowers, and to me, it reminded me of a Bollywood scene where, like, the main character is like they're doing the spin in the circle, and they have the flowers thrown at them and all the lights. And Bisha, she's a big Bollywood fan, like huge. Yes. So I caught that reference there. Kamala, her initial hero name is Nightlight. Then for half a second she said Noor girl. Then she said, that doesn't work. But we know Noor meaning light. Yep. Kamala's power is being based on the Noor within her, the light within her powers within her. The Noor dimension is unseen unless you have the right type of light to access it. All right, right type of energy. Keep that same energy on when you see me. We said is the light dimension connected to the Shang-Chi dimension?
Yes, because there's been some theorizing online that the light dimension is the opposite of the dark dimension where Dormammu resides. Dormammu. Where at the end of Doctor Strange 2, we see Clea open up a portal into the dark dimension and take evil Doctor Strange along with her. And in this, we have Kamala getting ripped through a portal, which is more bright, more Noor light into the past. And so people are theorizing that, and then in Shang-Chi, we had that dimension at the end where they were in that, and they both have bangles, and they're both, from the Asian area. And so people are connecting all the dots in the world. And I'm like, I don't know. But I do think that Marvel is using this whole dimension thing as a prelude to what everything is leading up to right now, which seems to be a remake or retelling of the Secret Wars storyline from Jonathan Hickman from the mid 2010s, where there's a bunch of different realities crashing into each other called incursions. And we see these in Doctor Strange too, but it gets much worse in Secret Wars, where incursions are constantly happening. And this light dimension overriding our dimension is basically an incursion. That's what happens in the comics, is that these two dimensions, two variant Earths come together and one erases the other. And so the Avengers and the Illuminati of our world start doing dastardly deeds to stop this from happening. And it all fails in the end and ends in this big thing, the Secret Wars.
Got it. All right.
Yep. So we'll see if that's what's happening here. But, it's just yet another world ending threat, Don't worry about graduating high school anymore.
What college you want to go to? Don't matter.
Fuck class. Like, how are you going back to class after this, fam? Like, it was wild that Peter went back after, everything he went through. But, dog, I'd have a hard time, fam. I'd have a hard time going back to high school after.
Because you're tired of the foolishness. I want a normal life.
This is true. I'd be like, I just want to chill, B. Fuck
I just
that.
want to chill.
Yeah, true indeed.
Let's move on to the characters. Kamala Khan, played by Iman Vellani. She is coming to her own when it comes to discovering more of her Earth heritage as well as her Noor heritage. Interestingly, her friend or auntie to her mother tells her that Kamala is not a common Pakistani name. And then she, as an aside, she adds, your mom has always been a bit of a rebel. So that's a little bit more about the background of Muniba, just how she probably was more like Kamala once upon a time. And perhaps her interactions or lack thereof with her mom, that kind of pushed her towards being more conforming with society and things like that.
And it's also that she was more like her mom.
Yeah.
Who was definitely the rebel. And it's like, no, I got to chill that out. Mom, mom ain't coming back. Mom ain't never going to come back. So I got to, get right.
Absolutely. Apparently she can't handle foods that are too spicy. She is, the pan puri at the boat club is kicking her ass. The pani puri. Pani puri is a deep fried flatbread. It usually has like chutney, chili powder, chopped masala, potato, onion, chickpeas, really good stuff. Great street food. I love it. And yeah, I love spicy food, so I could get down, but I was dying when she was like dying on that shit. She says, why is the hot and sour soup so red? Because she's used to the Americanized version of it. And Kareem explains to her that's actually the proper color. And so the spice level, and he says a really great line. He says, did you Americans find a way to whitewash the Chinese food too? Which
disrespect. Yes, but, which they have. And I do not understand it at all. One of my goals, because I never got to go on David Letterman, is to go on Hot Ones.
Oh, really?
Yeah, because I feel like it would take a lot. You know what I mean? I'm at least going to have to get some of them hot spices they use and really go for it, because y'all don't understand, dog. I'm unfazed.
Really?
Yeah, it takes a lot. I will drink hot sauce.
Okay, I need to see. I have literally a closet full of hot sauce, so I'm gonna try. We should do our own hot ones.
Oh, let's do it.
We gotta change it. We gotta change the name though. We're not trying to get sued.
No, it's just a one-off. We do a one-off, whatever. Because MTV already did one too. They was already jocking his style already. So MTV, bait it. We just do, but I'm so down. You do not understand. I'm so down.
Excellent. And she asks Kareem if the biryani is spicy, and he laughs at her and then
failure.
Says, check this girl out. She asked me the biryani is spicy.
Failure.
So poor Kamala, but it's so good to see her interacting and learning more about her culture. According to her cousins, Kamala is an ABCD, American-born confused Desi, and that is
cold-blooded,
very common term. It's could be a polarizing factor in the South Asian diaspora in the U.S. Particularly, it's said on to young South Asians of second or later generations, and it's been adopted by the South Asian diaspora to basically say you're confused, and like Like you struggle to balance your values with your traditions taught at home. And it's practices that are more like American like versus what happens at home or what happens in Pakistani culture. You see this illustrated by Kamala. Like she's wearing jeans to first of all, when her cousin said we're going to the boat club, I knew what was up. But Kamala shows up wearing jeans and mad casual, Biz Cash Fry outfit. And I'm like, I don't think that's the type of dress she's supposed to do. And because of that, they end up telling her she need to sit outside because you can't come in with the well-dressed people. When the photography guy, when she was walking around the market, the photography guy says, you look lost. Yes, that's obvious, but also it's a euphemism. Just the fact that she is a little bit lost. Like she's lost in learning, and she's lost in learning. She's lost also physically, like where she is, but she's also a little bit lost in like she's still discovering herself and trying to figure out who she is.
Yep.
She's getting acclimated to how all the young people around her live and interact in Pakistan. She's a fish out of water once again. She's learning to fit in again, just like she was back in Jersey City. Just like you remember episode 1 where she's been there, but she still didn't quite fit in with everybody. She's getting hit in the face with dodgeballs. People ignoring her, stuff like that. So even though it's not nearly as negative of what things that are happening, you can see that she's finding her way here.
Mm-hmm.
And what's this last one, Ben?
The actress is actually, because I keep forgetting, Iman is actually Canadian.
Yeah.
So when she says to Kareem in the fight, how do you not know I'm Canadian? It's actually an in-joke because she actually is a Canadian. Excellent. Also, real quick, I want to give a shout out to the Desi Geek Girls, who are a very dope podcast. We're going to do a collaboration with them very soon to talk about Ms. Marvel and some other stuff. And y'all should be checking them because they are covering Ms. Marvel and they're fire. Good friends of ours. Check them out.
Excellent. Let's talk about Sana Nani, played by Samina Ahmed. She is Muniba's mother's, Kamala's grandmother. She's very spry and outgoing, despite, don't be fooled by the cane. This Miss Mams goes to the party, okay? She tells Kamala she just came from the party in the middle of the night. Just got back. Like, Kamala, she lands in the middle of the night. And she's like, yo, Nani, why are you out here? It's kind of late. She's like, yo, I was out in the club.
Came from the club.
She was at the function, getting down. And in her typical mother fashion. In her typical mother fashion, and my mom does this to me. I think every mom does this. She welcomes Muniba and then in the same breath immediately criticizes her, saying, oh, why is her skin so dry? And it's out of love and concern, but I just want to say I felt that. Because and I feel like a lot of, especially young women, we know this about mom. Mom was like, oh, I'm so happy to see you. And it's like, oh, you gained some weight, or oh, you look this way, or you look this way. Oh, what's going on? It's out of concern, but it's like, bro, you need to relax.
Look, they do it to young men as well. My mom, rest her soul, would always have something to say about my parents every time I saw her.
It's like, damn, man, can I live?
No. And thank God for that. Thank God for them checking us. Because there are times when we ain't looking right, you know what I mean?
And you need to be told about yourself, like, hey, yo, you
better. You need to be, ain't nobody better than your mama to let you know. Like, I don't know about that one, bruh. You tried.
Muniba Khan, played by Zenobia Shroff. We talk about how she's holding and still holds a lot of animosity and pain for how she grew up with her mother. But now she seems seeking of resolving this conflict. And I feel like that's how she is with Kamala, right? Like she's had conflict with Kamala in her teenage days, but she still wants to resolve. She still wants to help and be there. And same thing with her mom. She's like, yo, come live with me. Like, let me take care of you, right? She reveals during that interaction with her mom, she reveals that their father left her mother. And allegedly because her mother was saying all these quote unquote crazy theories. We don't know what the real truth is, but I'm sure that's part of it. And maybe like societal pressures. The friend auntie, we talk about that, just, how she gave Kamala the name Kamala. That's a little bit rebellious. Let's also talk about, did you have anything else to say about Muniba before I move on?
Nah.
Okay.
I do just want to say I love Zenobia. She's killing it. Big shouts to her. I absolutely love the work she's doing on this show.
All right. Let's also talk about Waleed, played by Farhan Akhtar. He's actually in real life a major, major famous Bollywood actor and director.
Okay.
He made his directorial debut in the Indian film industry with the critically acclaimed Dil Chahta Hai. Dil Chahta Hai is a landmark film in many different ways. After that, he went on to direct the popular Lakshya and the successful Don and Don 2, which featured your boy Shah Rukh Khan
SRK.
in the title role. What you say?
I just love SRK because when I first found out about him, you know, like when I was in Dubai reading the paper and they'd be talking about him damn near every day. And I was like, yo, this dude is so popping that it ain't Shah Rukh Khan, it's SRK, bitch. You know what I mean? Like
it's SRK.
Right? You know what I mean? I was like, that's so fly. I loved it. So yeah, SRK.
Waleed explains to Kamala that there's many Kamala. Oh my God, Kamala! I was right the first time. That there's many dimensions around us that one cannot see. And again, I know it's not the same guy, but he reminded me just like Arya Stark's swordsman teacher. Like he just had that same kind of.
Oh, the first.
I'm the Grand Master. The first.
Yeah,
guy.
Yeah. The first.
I'm the
guy.
Grand Master of this shit. I'm trying to tell you something, right? Yeah. He says the bangle inscription on Kamala's bangle says, "What you seek is seeking you."
She got the fucking mall inscription on her shit. She got this shit you stop at the kiosk and get.
Yo! She got the things remembered stamps.
So her mom was walking through the mall with that joint and somebody was like, yo, hold up. $1,500.
$15.
What is it, rupees?
2,000 rupees.
Yeah, 2,000 rupees. I got you, ma. Let me look that up.
Oh my goodness. I did love he was part of this, the rickshaw / truck chase scene. Yes. That was pretty cool. If you and funny enough, I just wanted to say this, and I was looking through the credits. I actually think most of the scenes were actually filmed in Thailand. There were shots of Karachi, but I don't think that's where the action and the actual dialogue and stuff was filmed. Because when I read through every single frame, right, and they kept, towards the end when they say the thank yous to Georgia, because a lot of stuff was filmed in Georgia, they thanked Thailand for on location photography, stuff like that. So I think most of this episode was actually filmed there, and then they used like drone and aerial shots of Karachi to make it seem like, oh, it's Karachi.
I mean, most of New York is shot in Toronto, so.
Right. Which is crazy because I can tell that that's not the train. That's not the subway, bro.
I mean, that's because you're from New York. 90% of people ain't, and they don't care.
Whatever.
Shouts to Chico Leo, who is famously angry about that every time.
He was so angry about that. Waleed gives Kamala a special cloth. Like a blue vest kind of situation. I wonder how that will play out later, if at all. But he made a big deal about it. So I'm just like, all right, this is going to come into play.
Well, it seems to be that her costume is being put together, right? I wanted to mention this because Bruno has given her mask.
Yeah.
Well, Waleed is now giving her the vest. And I think that the scarf she's wearing is either going to be from the Red Dagger scarf or it's going to be the...
Wait, not the scarf that Nakia handed back to her?
Yes, or the scarf that was the one, or the hijab, right? That Nakia hands back to her. That's where I figure her star comes from. The only thing is the costume that she's wearing in the promo appearances and in like other shots because they've already revealed her final form, basically.
Right.
It looks a lot more dope than those put together. So I think
absolutely.
I think that's the inspiration, and then she gets an upgrade, like from Captain Marvel or someone like that.
She has it all on, like Cinderella, and Fairy Godmother comes and flips
it
into the real.
Woo-woo, let's make that fire.
Yeah. Fun fact, if you live in New Jersey or are traveling through New Jersey, if you are going towards Newark Airport, so it's like exit 14-ish, but you got to be actually going like towards that exit. There's actually a huge billboard for Miss Marvel.
Oh, dope.
And it has a cutout of her sitting on top of the billboard. I mean, it's huge as fuck. And it's like, it's as you approach the airport. So I thought, and again, especially after seeing this episode, I thought that was just a great, time. It was just a timely reference.
That's great. I'm at to Google that.
Yeah.
I'm not going out there anytime soon.
Yeah. And I don't care what happened. I know he got stabbed in the back with no blood. Man's Waleed, he ain't dead. He ain't dead. It was so unceremonious. It was like, what? You going, like, really?
I mean, maybe not. Yeah, you're right.
And then he fell less than a story. Like, I don't think Mans is dead.
Hopefully he comes back because, like you said, dude is a famous dude, and I'd like him to give me a chance to really care about Waleed.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
We have Kareem, aka Red Dagger, aka Chemo, and as Kamala funnily puts, minced meat. He's like, no, that's just my nickname, bro. Mm-hmm. Played by Aramis Knight, in real life, his father is of Pakistani descent. He also, Aramis, he played MK on Into the Badlands.
Oh, okay.
He was the kid with the apple on Dark Knight Rises. I don't know who that was, but I just thought it was funny to mention because Batman has been finding his way into our review every episode. He will, at least according to IMDb, he's going to appear again episode 5 and 6.
Oh, he will, because he got yanked into that portal, and I've not seen a lot of reviewers mention that.
Oh,
But
he did? I didn't notice that.
Yes, they both get yanked into the portal. Now, he's not on the ground beside her, but he also seems to maybe get yanked into a slightly different portal, or, like probably put him somewhere else in that area.
I didn't notice that.
And I have seen another reviewer say this, so I'll say this right now. Shout out to Screen Crush again, because that's where I got this info from. They seem to think that the way that this will wrap up is because that Kamala is in the past now, right? Which would normally create a branching timeline according to what we've seen in Loki. And because the TVA is in disarray, there are multiple branching timelines. So it would just be that she would stay in this branched out timeline. And even if she moved back to the future, she'd be in the branch. But the theory is going around is that she will fulfill this loop that is happening. Because remember, her mom followed a trail of stars. Who created the Trail of Stars? Kamala in the past. And then Kamala will turn to the future. Thus, that's why these Terminator... Okay,
it's looping. We're looping.
And you're creating your own birth, which is another Terminator reference, because we see this Terminator reference in this episode. In fact, there's 2 Terminator, to me, references in this episode. There's the really direct one with the "Come with me if you want to live" line, which we'll talk about in Easter eggs. But there's also the car chase scene that we were just talking about, where we have this rickshaw versus a giant truck, where we have these 2 outsized different vehicles in a car chase scene, which is, to me, a homage to, I'm sure it was done before, but James Cameron does it brilliantly in Terminator, where they get in this little truck and T2 is driving after them in an 18-wheeler. Yeah. And they're the little, basically a rickshaw type truck trying to escape from him in the semi. So I think there's a lot of shout outs to Terminator, and because it's one of the great time loop stories, that I think that's what we're about to see in this, is that a time loop where Kamala will be responsible for getting her family safe and thus creating herself in the future.
Great catch, Ben.
Not just me. That's shout out to Screen Crush. I watched their review on this and they really pointed that one out, because I didn't even think about the implications of her being in the past yet. I was just more like, oh, that's dope, she's in the past. I didn't really think about, okay, what does this do with the branching and all that? So I might have come to that conclusion, but yeah, shout out to them.
Yeah. We also have Zainab and Oasis, played by Varda Aziz and Asfandiyar Khan, respectively. Those are Kamala's cousins. They are referred to as Kaku Chacha's children. I don't think Kaku Chacha was mentioned previously. I don't know who that is in their family, but nope. And I don't think that's like a character that comes up as far as you know. Okay.
Nope. Shorty or fly though.
Yeah. I liked her.
Super fly. Her outfit was super dope.
Yeah. Bruno Corelli, played by Matt Lintz. He's not in this episode, but of course the mask that he made, Kamala, is coming in handy because she wears that pretty much throughout the episode, especially when she's doing her lightweight heroic stuff. Nakia Bahadiar, aka Squishy, played by Yasmin Fletcher. She's been ignoring Kamala's texts, and she, amongst other things, is hurt that Kamala kept that info about her being Nightlight from her. And we see very beginning when Kamala's on the train, she's scrolling through her text, and you see that all her unanswered messages from to Nakia. Kamran, played by Rish Shah, he gets basically orphaned in the beginning. Mans does not have a mom now because Najma, his mother, leaves him out to dry in Supermax. And to me, the Department of the Damage Control, their Supermax prison is a big fucking joke, because how they just get loose like that? Like,
fam,
this ain't no real Supermax prison.
I've been in prison. It was triggering for me, just that underground hallway scene. I'm like, yo, does this happen in every prison? Like, because it's like when they take you to the cell, usually you go through this underground hallway, and it was like this long, dark hallway, and I don't know why that's a thing, but that was triggering for me. But then these niggas escaping was really triggering for me, because I was like, I wish,
I wish that was me.
Man, just walked out, dog. Like, no problem. Yeah, whatever. And she didn't leave him stranded. He was already out too. Like, he just got to run to, I don't know, swim. Like, I don't know. Look, these unseen people are like, come on.
I don't know. And every prison, at least in the films and stuff, have that underground hallway walk scene.
That's
the transport scene.
I can tell you.
That's for real. Okay, thank you.
That's not a trope. No, that's for real.
Najma, played by Nimra Busha. Listen, I'm gonna be honest, Ben. I'm not feeling her. I'm not feeling her or the clandestines.
No, I already told you that. Yeah.
Like, I was giving it a chance, but especially this episode, I'm like, this shit is wet. Like, I don't care for her. To me, they're not the threat that they were initially made out to be. Now, to me, they're also Rands now because, like, who cares, right? Like, their fights with Kamala come off as more weak to me now, and they have like a mid bad guy feel.
Look, the action in this series is one area it's lacking. Visually, I have to say that. Like, it's cool, but that's kind of like most of Marvel, sadly, for a lot of their superhero stuff. It's like the visual action isn't the draw. It's like the characters get you so involved, and that's what gets you. Now, they have had exceptions to the rule, like the Russo brothers are fantastic action directors. I think Ryan Coogler is pretty good, even though, the third sequence in Black Panther, got his issues.
What about like the fight scenes in like not Black Panther, the Winter Soldier and Falcon and Winter Soldier?
I thought those were pretty good too. I think those I thought those were very well done. And they were aping a lot of what Russo's done and did it well. And that's, that takes talent in itself. So I thought they were very well done. So, there are exceptions. I thought the first Iron Man, I think they have moments, it all looks cool because these are giant battles, at the same time with superpowers that we've seen. But I think the best examples are the Russos. They're like my go-to for when it comes to showing people how superhero fights should work, because they take into account like physics and size and speed and all this different stuff. So I think they really do a great job. And it's tough. That shit's hard, man. You know what I mean? Like,
it's definitely hard. But like that aside, like the clandestines, I'm just like, okay, y'all. Like, get out like, I'm ready for them to get out the picture now. I'm like, can y'all just be beat already and go away? Like, I really was hoping this whole Supermax thing was the end of that. So,
and that's the other side of it. It's like, 'cause no matter how dope these fights look, I wouldn't care. Because these characters are whack. It's like, who cares? Like, if the fights were really dope, I'd be like, oh, that's cool, but you have no emotional connection. It's like you mentioned the giant kaiju fight in Moon Knight. Like, it was cool, but I had no emotional connection to any of those characters involved.
I'm just really just super invested in Kamala and that family and Muniba and all, like, Sanaa, like, Aisha. I want to know their story. Like,
no, the unseen are mid.
Like, I feel every time they show up on screen, I'm like, here y'all niggas go again. Like, y'all are ruining my experience at this point. Like, you're not ruining, you're annoying me. That's a better word. You're annoying me.
I was going to say still better than Gore, but I don't know. About the same level of mid.
Wow, okay. Y'all listen to our upcoming Thor Love and Thunder review. Aisha, played by my wish, Hayat. She has a lot of friends and allies over the centuries, I'm going to say, because it seems like as Waleed, he says she is a legend in these streets. Everybody know Aisha's name, and a friend Aisha is a friend of mine, or her granddaughter, great granddaughter is a friend of mine, and it will help her.
Yep.
And as you put, Ben, that you learned about online, just like that whole loop happening where it seems like we're going back to the time when Aisha followed the stars to find her father.
Would be dope, very dope if they pull that off.
Yeah, definitely. Let's move on to the Easter eggs, inspiration, and music. Go ahead, Ben.
All right. Well, outside of the airport in the first sequence when we arrive in Karachi, there is an electronic mural, basically that 3 thing in the circle that every airport outside has that you got to drive around. And there's an image of Muhammad Ali Jinnah, who is the founder of Pakistan, and that's seen in that electronic mural. Just basically all of Karachi, Thailand, I guess, is a Easter egg in this one, because there's just so much.
You said Karachi, Thailand.
That's there's so much visual information given. We just see so much color, so much brightness. Answering Bruno's question of why, her mom doesn't understand. Is there too much color? Because look at where she comes from, fam. Like, there's color on everything. So I just thought that was great. The kites being flown.
Yes, I love that.
Yes, Karachi is not only the city of lights, it's also a city known for its extensive kite flying. And every spring they have, like, not ceremonies, but people celebrate by flying mad kites. And it's actually sadly declined. I was reading an article in recent years because there's not as many public spaces and stuff where people could fly kites. And it used to just be stupid amount of kites, but there was still very nice kites. And then you see them form the text message, which once again was just another brilliant use of these motherfuckers.
Loved it.
And they uses of text messaging, and how they have displayed it on screen yet again, doing it up. Kareem Red Dagger.
Yeah. What's Tani Puri?
Oh, that's another thing they are eating in, I'm not sure which scene, but it's another delicacy that they were serving in one of the scenes of this episode. So you get a bunch of different food references and food that is, culturally relevant to the region in this episode.
Yeah. Your boy Kareem.
Yes.
Come with me if you want to live.
Yes. Kareem, the Red Dagger, tells Miss Marvel, come with me if you want to live, which is a reference to the Terminator series. And like we said before, there are several references, but it's first known by Kyle Reese in the first film. He tells Sarah Connor, come with me if you want to live, after he guns down Arnold Schwarzenegger to the Terminator, and you think that he's dead because you don't realize this motherfucker ain't never dying. And then it's made famous, as you pointed out, Tatiana, by Arnold Schwarzenegger saying it in the second T2 film when he encounters Sarah Connor for the first time. And she's like, why are you saying this line? And the audience is like, why are you saying this line? And that made it famous to the point where, sadly, they now say it in every Terminator film ever made.
He said sadly.
Sadly, man. It was like beating that horse. It was so dope the first time he says it, Kyle Reese, I love that as a kid. And then when, Arnold made it famous, like you said, and it's like that shit was fire when he said it because it was such a flip. And then it's like, come on, man, not everybody.
Daenerys Targaryen says it in the later Terminator film.
She's one of the ones who says it.
I don't know. God. I'm just saying it. It just seems like something she would say.
Oh, God.
She said that to the people of color in that town.
Oh,
that she freed.
She didn't say that. They just came out like, oh, our white queen.
Come with me if you want to live, queen. Jon Snow.
Yes, they were terrible.
When Kamala's in that market, when she's getting the directions to the train station, there is a QR code on the photography guy's stand. There's been a QR code in like every episode. This one leads you to Miss Marvel number 12. I don't know if you read that one, but
no, but I do know that Miss Marvel number 12 is the issue where she goes back to Karachi. So it's the actual comic issue where she goes back to find out about her heritage, which is this episode. So that was dope.
Great. And finally, with the music, I really, really like this first song that they played while she was on the plane. Like, I actually downloaded it right away. I was like, oh shit, this is going in the playlist. It's called Summer Nights. Stage name Raginder, featuring Wild Child. That's the intro on the plane. Mm-hmm. There's also the Sibi song performed by Somewhat Soer and Abid Brohi during that cultural walk when Kamala's with her cousins.
Yep.
And then there's Mera Long Goachi, performed by Musara Nazir, which is a record that Muniba stops from playing when she's in the room cleaning up after her mother.
All right.
Yeah. I've been loving the movie. I've been loving the music in this series a lot.
Oh, yeah.
And
fire.
One thing, when a series or film can make me like download a brand new song and add it to playlist, that's when you know it's fire. So
yeah, that's like Insecure.
Yeah, definitely. Big ups to y'all.
Yeah.
So that is everything. I don't know if you had anything else, but you wanted to mention.
No, other than, like you said before, check out our Thor review. We'll be back next week with episode 5, and still loving this series. I do feel like, not the weak. I mean, these latest 2 episodes have had some of the weaker points of the series, and that is the villains and the threat that she's now facing is kind of like, whatever. But, overall, I think this is still one of my favorite series. Oh, I do know something. Inshallah, God willing, we will have a very special surprise for you very soon. For you Views from the 616 Miss Marvel listeners. Big things coming. Also, like I mentioned before, Desi Geek Girls will be doing a collaboration with them very soon. So yeah, a lot of things happening.
And the only way you're going to see these perfect, amazing things is if you are subscribed to us and following us on your favorite podcast platform. We are everywhere, such as Spotify, Google Play, Podcasts, Apple Podcasts, everything along that you can think of. We are also on Twitch, twitch.tv/forallnerds. Make sure you are following us. That's the only way you can get to chat anyway. But if you can also subscribe, if you have an Amazon Prime account or subscription, you can link your account to Twitch and therefore get a free subscription to a Twitch channel of your choice. Please let that be For All Nerds. And if you want to support us in other ways, please do. We have our merch page, tpublic.com/stores/forallnerds, where you can get the legendary For All Nerds t-shirt in a variety of colors. I think we also have the That's All Main, a Terrence Howard shirt that, again, a variety of colors. You can get this and more designs on all sorts of merch, such as books, masks, tees, sweatshirts, bags, anything you could think of. You could put them on their mugs, whatever you like. We on there. And also, so incredibly important, if you're liking what you hear, you love the work that we do, you want to support us and support our team that makes us be legendary just like this, please hit us up on our Patreon. Patreon.com/forallnerds. Any tier is a good tier, okay? We appreciate you. That is how we fund everything that we do on the For All Nerds brand. We appreciate and love you so very much.
Thank you.
Oh, and make sure you're following us. Yeah.